The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber hissed open. Ambassador Chen walked through them with steady steps. His worn military boots clicked against the polished crystal floor. Every alien in the room turned to look at him. Some had multiple eyes. Others had none at all, but they all stared. Chen was small compared to most species here. The Krellians stood 12 feet tall with their scale bodies. The Vorthan delegates floated in their mobility spheres, their tentacles moving like underwater plants. The insect-like Thackeray clicked their mandibles as they watched him approach the speaking platform. "Is that the human?" Someone whispered in the universal translator language. "He looks so fragile." "I heard they only live for 100 cycles," another voice added. "How primitive." Chen heard every word. His face showed nothing. He had been warned about this. Humans were new to the galactic community. Earth had only discovered faster-than-light travel 5 years ago. To these ancient civilizations, humanity was like a child who had just learned to walk. The council chamber was built to intimidate. The ceiling stretched so high that clouds formed near the top. Holographic stars floated between the pillars, showing real-time images of every member species' home system. Chen counted over 300 different alien races in the viewing galleries. Each one had been traveling the stars for at least 1,000 years, some for much longer. Ambassador Zix Theta of the Dominion stood at the center podium. The Dominion controlled this sector of space. They were the ones who had finally agreed to hear Earth's petition for trade rights. Zix Theta's body looked like living mercury, constantly shifting and reforming. When he spoke, his voice sounded like grinding metal. "The human representative may approach," Zix Theta announced. The translator made his words understandable, but Chen could hear the dismissive tone underneath. Chen walked forward. He wore a simple black suit with Earth's flag pin on his lapel. Around his neck, barely visible against his white shirt, hung a thin metal chain. Something small dangled from it, hidden beneath his clothing. "State your business, human," Zix Theta commanded. Chen reached the speaking platform. He had to crane his neck to look up at the Dominion leader. "I am Ambassador Marcus Chen, representing the United Earth government. I come to request trade passage through Dominion space and access to the Kepler mining colonies." Laughter rippled through the chamber. It came in many forms. The Krellians made deep rumbling sounds. The Vorthans' laughter sounded like bubbles popping. The Thackeray's wings buzzed in amusement. "Trade rights." Zix Theta's form rippled with what might have been amusement. "Your species has existed for a mere blink of time. You have one planet, one system. What could you possibly offer the Dominion?" "Earth has unique resources," Chen replied calmly. "Our biodiversity is unmatched. Our art and culture art." A Krellian delegate interrupted. His scales flushed purple with mirth. "The Krellian Empire has produced art for 50,000 years. What could infant humans teach us about creation?" More laughter filled the chamber. Chen stood still, waiting for it to die down. His hand moved unconsciously to his chest, fingers brushing against the hidden chain. A Vorthan delegate floated forward. "I have studied your history, human. Such violence. You wage war against your own kind. You poison your own planet. You can barely unite one world, yet you dare ask for rights among the stars." "The Vorthan speaks truth," added a Thackeray. "My hive mind has analyzed human development. You are aggressive, unstable, dangerous to yourselves and others. The galaxy is safer with you contained to your single world." Chen's jaw tightened, but he kept his voice level. Every species had a violent past. Even the Dominion's history shows, "Do not compare us to you." Zix Theta's form suddenly spiked with sharp edges. "The Dominion achieved unity 20,000 years before your ancestors discovered fire. We have guided this sector with wisdom while you were still living in caves." The chamber erupted in approval. Dozens of species voiced their agreement. Humans were too young, too violent, too primitive. They had no place among the civilized races of the galaxy. Chen let them speak. He had expected this reaction. Admiral Morrison had warned him. "They'll mock you," she had said. "They'll list every human failing. They'll make you feel small. That's when you show them the tag." When the noise finally settled, Chen spoke again. "You're right. Humans are young. We've made mistakes. We've fought wars. But Perhaps you should know something about human wars before you judge us. He reached into his collar and pulled out the chain. A small metal rectangle hung from it. The overhead lights caught its surface, revealing stamped letters and numbers worn smooth by age. "This is a dog tag," Chin said. "A simple piece of metal. Every human soldier wears one. Do you know why?" The chamber had gone quiet. Something in Chin's voice had changed. The meekness was gone, replaced by steel. "We wear them so we can identify our dead," Chin continued. "So we can bring them home. So their families can say goodbye. This one belonged to my great-grandfather. He died in our Second World War, fighting against tyranny." Zix Theta's form shifted uncertainly. "A memorial token? This is hardly relevant to trade negotiations." "Oh, but it is," Chin interrupted. He had never interrupted a Dominion leader before. No one had. "You see, this tag tells you everything you need to know about humans. We remember our dead. We honor them. We learn from them." Chin walked closer to the central podium. Several security drones hummed to life, but he ignored them. "You say we're violent. You're right. We are the most violent species you've ever encountered. We've split atoms to destroy cities. We've created diseases that could wipe out entire populations. We've built enough weapons to kill our planet 100 times over." The chamber was completely silent now. Even the constant background hum of technology seemed muted. "But here's what you're missing," Chin said. "We chose not to use them. We stepped back from the brink. We united not because we had to, but because we wanted to. We took all that violence, all that aggression, and we turned it outward. To the stars. To exploration. To defending what we love." He held up the dog tag. "My great-grandfather died fighting fascists who wanted to exterminate entire populations. My grandfather fought in the resource wars when nations battled over water. My mother commanded the fleet that stopped the colony rebellion from using bioweapons. Each generation, we fought. Each generation, we chose to be better." A Thackeray delegate clicked nervously. "You speak of war as if it were noble." "Noble?" Chin laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "There's nothing noble about war. It's ugly and brutal, and it breaks everything it touches. But sometimes it's necessary. Sometimes you have to fight for what's right." He turned to address the entire chamber. "You look at us and see primitives, but we see something else. We see a species that survived. Every challenge the universe threw at us, we overcame. Ice ages, plagues, wars, our own stupidity. We survived it all." Chin pulled up his sleeve, revealing scars on his forearm. "These are from the Battle of Mars. I was there when the Separatists tried to crash Phobos into Earth. I was 23 years old, fighting in a tin can with nothing but determination and duct tape holding us together. We won not because we had better technology, but because we refused to give up." The Vorthan delegate who had mocked them earlier floated backward slightly. You crashed a moon?" "They tried to," Chun corrected. "We stopped them. 300 volunteers flew their ships into Phobos to break it apart. They knew they wouldn't survive. They did it anyway. That's what humans do. When faced with the impossible, we make it possible." Zix Theta's form had gone very still. "You speak of sacrifice as if it were common." "It is," Chin said simply. "Every human child learns about the heroes who gave their lives for others. The firefighters who ran into burning buildings. The doctors who stayed in plague zones. The soldiers who held the line so others could escape. We honor sacrifice because we understand its value." He tucked the dog tag back under his shirt. "You want to know what humans offer the galaxy? We offer perspective. You've had peace for so long, you've forgotten its price. You've had safety for so long, you've forgotten how to fight for it. But we remember. We remember because we wear our history around our necks." A Krellian delegate stood up. His scales had shifted from purple to a worried orange. "Are you threatening us, human?" Chun shook his head. "No, I'm warning you. There are worse things than humans in the dark between stars. Ancient things, hungry things, things that even your oldest records only hint at. You've been lucky. The galaxy has been quiet for millennia. But luck runs out." He gestured to the viewing galleries. "How many of you still maintain military fleets? How many remember how to fight? How many would sacrifice themselves for strangers? When the darkness comes, and It will come. Who will stand against it? The chamber remained silent. Chun could see the doubt creeping into their expressions. The worry. The realization. Humans will, he said quietly. Because that's what we do. We stand between the darkness and the light. We hold the line. We die so others can live. It's not pretty. It's not civilized. But it's necessary. Zixtheta finally spoke. You claim to know of threats we do not. Chun reached in his jacket and pulled out a datapad. He set it on the podium. 3 months ago, our deep space monitors detected something at the edge of the Orion Arm, something big. Something moving this way. Our scientists think it's what killed the Andromedans. The reaction was immediate. Every species knew about the Andromedans. They had been the first galactic civilization millions of years ago. Then, in less than a century, they had vanished. Every world dead. Every ship gone. No one knew why. Impossible, Zixtheta said, but his voice lacked conviction. The Andromedans fell victim to plague or civil war. No. Chun interrupted again. They were consumed. Our probes found traces of their technology. It had been digested, broken down at the molecular level. Whatever killed them is coming here. Our models say you have maybe 50 years. Probably less. The chamber exploded into chaos. Delegates shouted in dozens of languages. Some demanded proof. Others accused humanity of lying. A few were already calling for their ships. Chun waited. When the noise died down, he spoke one last time. Earth requests trade rights not to benefit from your technology, but to share our expertise. We know war. We know sacrifice. We know how to fight against impossible odds. You can laugh at the primitive humans, or you can let us help you prepare for what's coming. He stepped back from the podium. The choice is yours. But remember this moment. Remember that humanity came here in peace, offering partnership. Remember that we warned you. And remember that when the darkness comes, we'll be fighting whether you accept us or not. Because that's what humans do. Chun turned and walked toward the exit. His boots clicked on the crystal floor. Behind him, the chamber remained silent except for one sound. The quiet clink of metal against metal as his dog tag shifted with each step. He had almost reached the doors when Zixtheta spoke. Ambassador, Chun. Chun stopped but didn't turn around. The Dominion will consider Earth's petition. Return tomorrow for our decision. Chun nodded once and kept walking. As the doors closed behind him, he heard the chamber erupt in heated debate. He smiled grimly. They weren't laughing anymore. That night, Chun sat in his quarters aboard the human diplomatic ship. He held his great-grandfather's dog tag in his hand, rubbing his thumb over the worn letters. Outside his window, alien ships moved like glowing fish in the dark ocean of space. His communication pad chimed. It was Admiral Morrison calling from Earth. Her weathered face appeared on the screen, concern written in every line. How did it go, Marcus? About as expected, Chun replied. They laughed. Then I showed them the tag. Morrison's expression softened. Your great-grandfather will be proud. Did you tell them about the shadow signals? I did. They didn't want to believe it, but the seed is planted. Good. Morrison leaned back in her chair. Our long-range sensors picked up more movement last night. Whatever's out there, it's accelerating. The xenobiologists think it might be following old Andromedan trade routes. Chun set down the dog tag. How long do we really have? 20 years if we're lucky. 10 if we're not. And Earth's defenses? Morrison's smile was sharp as a blade. We've been preparing since we found the first Andromedan ruins. Every human above the age of 16 is trained for combat. The Mars shipyards are running triple shifts. We've reverse-engineered enough alien technology from crash sites to give us a fighting chance. The Council doesn't know about any of that, Chun said. No, they don't. They think we're primitives playing with fire. Let them think it. When the time comes, they'll be grateful for our paranoia. Chun picked up the dog tag again. Sometimes I wonder if we're wrong. Maybe we are too violent. Maybe the galaxy would be better without us. Maybe, Morrison agreed. But when those things arrive, those shadow entities that ate the Andromedans, who else is going to fight them? The Krellians with their philosophy debates? The Vorthans with their art galleries? The Dominion with their 20,000 years of peace? No, Chun said quietly. It'll be us. The violent little primitives who never learned to stop fighting. Exactly. Get some sleep, Marcus. Tomorrow's going to be interesting. The connection ended. Chen sat in the darkness for a while longer, watching the alien ships. Somewhere out there, beyond the light of civilized space, something hungry was moving toward them. The other species had forgotten how to be afraid. They had forgotten that the universe was not a safe place. But humans remembered. They wore that memory around their necks. The next morning, Chen returned to the council chamber. This time, there was no laughter when he entered. The delegates watched him with something new in their expressions. Fear, maybe, or respect, or both. Zix Theta stood at the central podium. His mercurial form seemed more subdued than the day before. Ambassador Chun, the Galactic Council has deliberated through the night. We have analyzed your data about the shadow signals. We have consulted our oldest archives. We have reconsidered our position. Chun stood at attention, hands clasped behind his back. The dog tag rested against his chest, hidden but present. The evidence you provided is troubling, Zix Theta continued. Our own deep space monitors have confirmed unusual gravitic distortions at the galactic edge. Something is indeed moving toward us. Something that matches the energy signatures found in Andromedan ruins. A murmur ran through the chamber. Chen remained silent. Furthermore, Zix Theta said, your point about military readiness was accurate. A survey of our member species reveals that less than 10% maintain active military forces. Most defensive technologies have been converted to civilian use. We have grown comfortable. The Krellian delegate from yesterday stood up. His scales were now a muted gray. The human speaks truth. My people have not fought a real war in 8,000 years. We have forgotten the taste of fear. Perhaps that is not wisdom, but weakness. Other delegates voiced similar concerns. The Vorthans admitted their military was purely ceremonial. The Thrakkari revealed their hive mind had lost all knowledge of weapon construction. Species after species confessed to the same comfortable negligence. Therefore, Zix Theta announced, the Dominion has decided to grant Earth full trade rights and colony access. But we ask, no, we request, something in return. Chun tilted his head slightly. What does the Dominion request? Teach us, Zix Theta said simply. Teach us to fight again. Share your knowledge of war. Help us remember how to stand against the darkness. The request hung in the air like a physical thing. The most advanced civilizations in the galaxy were asking primitive humans for help. The irony was not lost on Chun. Earth accepts, Chun said. We'll share our military knowledge, our tactics, our history. But understand something, war is not just about weapons and strategy. It's about will. It's about sacrifice. It's about standing up when every instinct tells you to run. Can you learn that? We could try, Zix Theta replied. Chen reached into his jacket and pulled out a small box. He walked to the podium and set it down. Then we'll start with these. Zix Theta's form shifted as he examined the contents. Inside were hundreds of small metal rectangles on chains. Dog tags. Every member of your defense forces will wear one, Chen explained. Not because they need identification, but because they need reminder. A reminder that they might die. A reminder that their death might mean something. A reminder that someone will remember them. A Vorthan delegate floated forward. Such a morbid custom. Yes, Chen agreed. It is morbid. War is morbid. Death is morbid. But pretending otherwise is what made you weak. Humans carry death with us always. We make friends with it. We prepare for it. And when it comes, we face it head on. He pulled out his own tag again. This piece of metal has seen 5 generations of war. My great-grandfather at Normandy. My grandfather in the Water Wars. My mother at Mars. My brother at Europa. Me at a dozen different battles. Each generation hoped the next wouldn't need it. Each generation was wrong. But each generation stood ready. The chamber was silent again, but it was a different silence. Not the shocked quiet of yesterday, but the thoughtful pause of students learning a hard truth. The shadows are coming, Chen said. Our scientists estimate 20 years at most. That's not much time to rebuild military traditions that have been dead for millennia. But humans did it in less. After our first nuclear exchange, we went from rubble to space flight in 50 years. After the colony wars, We went from fractured states to united government in 30. We're very good at learning from disaster. And if we fail, a Thackeray asked, if 20 years is not enough. Chin's smile was grim. Then we die fighting, but we die together. Human and Krellian, Vorthan and Thackeray, Dominion and Earth. We stand together or we fall alone. He gestured to the box of tags. These are just metal, but they represent something more. They represent the promise that someone will remember, that someone will care, that your sacrifice won't be forgotten. That's what holds soldiers together. Not fear, not hate. The knowledge that the person next to you will carry your memory home. Zix Theta reached out with a tendril of liquid metal and picked up one of the tags. He examined it closely. Such a simple thing, yet you claim it carries such weight. The weight of history, Chun confirmed. The weight of memory. The weight of promise. Every human soldier knows that if they fall, someone will bend down in the middle of hell itself to take their tag, to carry them home. That knowledge gives us strength. The Dominion leader formed something like a chain from his own substance and hung the tag around what might have been his neck. Other delegates came forward, each taking a tag. Soon, the box was empty. We have much to learn, Zix Theta said. We'll teach you, Chin promised. We'll teach you everything we know about war. How to fight, how to die, how to sacrifice, how to remember. And maybe, if we're very lucky, we'll teach you how to win. He turned to address the full chamber one last time. The galaxy is about to learn what humans have always known. The universe is not safe. It's not kind. It's not fair. But that's okay, because we're not safe or kind or fair either. We're survivors. We're fighters. We're the ones who stand between the darkness and the light. Shun touched his hidden dog tag, and we never forget our dead. As he walked out of the chamber for the second time, the clicking of his boots was joined by a new sound. The quiet clink of hundreds of dog tags as the galaxy's most advanced species took their first steps toward remembering how to fight. Outside, Chun paused to look at the stars. Somewhere out there, the shadows were moving. Hungry, patient, inevitable. But for the first time in decades, he felt hope. Not because the galaxy was safe, but because it was finally afraid. And fear, as every human knew, was the beginning of wisdom. He thought of his great-grandfather, dying on a beach in France. Of all the generations who had carried this piece of metal, they had fought so humanity could reach the stars. Now humanity would fight so the stars could survive. The dog tag rested against his chest, warm from his body heat. Such a simple thing, such a heavy burden, such a perfect reminder of what made humans human. Chun smiled and walked back to his ship. There was work to do. The galaxy needed to learn how to fight, and humanity was ready to teach. After all, they've been preparing for this moment since the first human picked up a rock and decided to throw it at the darkness. The shadows were coming. But for the first time in 20,000 years, the galaxy would be ready. Because now they had teachers who understood the true price of peace. Teachers who carried their history around their necks and their dead in their hearts. Teachers who knew that sometimes being violent wasn't a weakness. Sometimes it was the only thing standing between life and extinction. The age of peace was ending. The age of preparation had begun. And at the center of it all, a small metal tag swung gently on its chain, carrying the weight of human history and the hope of galactic survival. They had laughed at the human envoy, but they weren't laughing anymore.